Hi, it's Dawn from Ninja Money Crochet. Today I have for us to do these Mary Jane slippers or baby booties. These are super cute. These remind me of the little shoes I used to wear as a little girl. We have the ruffled sock on it, the little cute little button, and the strap that goes across. These are just so cute. I really love these slippers. These make a great baby shower gift or just a welcome home baby gift. I just really super like these. These are about a 4.5-inch sole, so I would say maybe a 3-month size. You can make them smaller by using a smaller size hook. This is an intermediate pattern. However, if you are like an advanced beginner crocheter, if you follow along, you should be able to do these without any issue. If you are very new to crochet, this might be more of a challenge for you to do, but if you follow along, you might be able to do it. So I would say go ahead and give it a try. We do have our front post double crochets, and we're going to be working in our back loops here so that we can add our ruffle, and you're also working in your back loops along here. These stitches here are going to go back and forth while we're still working in the round to do our slipper itself, and you're working in the round on your sole and also around for the sock too. So it has a lot of shaping to it, but if you follow along, I don't think you'll have any issues working these little booties. They're super cute. They're so worth it to try. So let's put these aside and we'll talk about the yarn I used and the hooks and everything. So I used this Big Twist Value yarn. This is a Joann's brand yarn. Now, you don't have to use this yarn, but it is, just so you know, this is a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. It's 100% acrylic. This is a pretty soft yarn. I find it to be softer than like a Red Heart Super Saver, but you can use whatever medium 4 yarn that you choose. I used 2 colors. This is called Soft Purple, and I used a white. You're going to want at least 2 colors when making these booties so that you have the booty color and the sock color. The hook size that I use to make this size booty is an H 5.0 millimeter hook. You're going to want a yarn needle to weave in your ends, a pair of scissors, and you're probably going to want at least 1 stitch marker. You might want to have more than 1 stitch marker, but you don't need to use these fancy locking stitch markers. You can just use a piece of yarn that's a different color than the 2 colors that you're working with. So once you have all of your supplies, let's get started. Before I jump into today's tutorial, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that little icon down in the corner. That'll automatically subscribe you to my channel. And don't forget to ring that bell, which is right down there in that corner as well, because that'll notify you whenever I upload a new video. And if you like content like this, please give it a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that you like my videos, and it also lets me know what type of content that you want to see on my channel. So for today's tutorial, I'll be using my H 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. This is my Clover Amour hook. So we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook and a chain of 12. So just keep making chains until you have a chain of 12. I'll be right back once I have my chain of 12. Now that we have a chain of 12, we're going to start second chain from hook. The loop on your hook does not count as a stitch, so we're going to go 1, 2, and start in the second chain with a single crochet. We're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches for a total of 8 single crochet. So it's 3, 4, 7, and 8. In our next stitch, we're going to put a half double crochet. The next stitch, 2 half double crochets. And in the last stitch, we're going to put 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to work along the opposite side of the chain, and we're going to work our way back down to the beginning. Now you can work over this tail, or you can just push it to the side and you can weave it in later. For tutorial purposes, I'm going to push it to the side because it'll help you to be able to see what stitches I'm actually working into. So for our first stitch, we're going to be working into this one right here. And we're going to put 2 half double crochets. That's 1, 2. And the next stitch, which is right there, we're going to put 1 half double crochet. And in each one of these stitches all along here, we're going to put 1 single crochet till we get to the end. So that will be 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 8, and in this last stitch right here will be your 9th stitch. And we're going to slip stitch to this very first stitch right here to join the round. And that ends round 1, and we have 17 single crochets and 11 half double crochets for a total of 28 stitches. To start round 2, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into that same stitch right here that we just slip stitched into. And we're going to single crochet 2 times. So put 2 single crochets into that stitch. And we're going to single crochet into the next 10 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. Let me pull out a little bit more yarn. Next, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next, and we're going to repeat that 3 times. So 2 single crochets, then 1 single crochet. That's 1 time, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. That's 2 times. Then we're going to do it a 3rd time. 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. And that's the 3rd time. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. Next we are going to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 1 single crochet in the last stitch. This stitch right here is our slip stitch, so we're going to skip that. This right here, so this is the slip stitch. This right here is our chain stitch. You skip both of those and you slip stitch to this one right here, which is your first single crochet. To start round 3, we're going to chain 1 and into the same stitch we're going to single crochet 1 time. Then we're going to single crochet into the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. Put more yarn out here. Next, what we are going to do is we're going to single 2 in the next stitch, 1 in the next, 2 times. So 2, 1. It's 1 time. And we're going to repeat that again. 2. Next we're going to do single in the next stitch, 2 in the next, and we're going to repeat that twice. 1, 2. That's 1 time, 1 single, and 2 singles, and that's the second time. The next step is to single in the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, and in our last 2 stitches we are going to put 2 single crochets in both of those stitches. So 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to slip stitch to that first single crochet that we did. Again, remember to skip this slip stitch and chain stitch. To start round 4, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to be working in the back loop for this round. So this is our front loop right here. This loop here is our front loop. So let's go this way. That's your front loop, and this is your back loop. So we're going to work in just this back loop. So we're going to be starting in this stitch that we just slip stitched into, and we're going to go just in that back loop, just like that, and put 1 single crochet. And we're going to put 1 single crochet into each of the stitches all the way around. We should have 39 stitches. So you're going to put 1 single crochet into each one of those stitches. And it's going to be creating the ridge on the bottom of the baby booty. So I'll meet back up with you at the end of this round. We're at the end of round 4. We have 39 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet that we made. Make sure you skip that slip stitch and the chain 1. It'll be kind of tiny this round. To start round 5, chain 1, and we're going to single crochet right back into that same stitch we just slip stitched into, and 1 single crochet into each stitch around. Your stitch count should remain the same this round, so 39. And I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. We're at the end of round 5. You should still have 39 stitches, and it's probably going to start curling this way up towards you, so you're just going to want to curl it away from you because this is the right side of your work. And make sure you skip this slip stitch and chain stitch and slip stitch into that first single crochet. So to start round 6, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into the same stitch as the join again, and single crochet into the next 13 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, and 13. The next step to this round is we're going to skip the next stitch and single in the next 2 stitches 4 times. So skip this next stitch and single in the next 2. That's 1 time. Skip, single in the next 2. That's 2 times. Skip, single in the next 2 stitches. That's 3. Skip, single in the next 2. That's 4. Then we're going to single in the next 13 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 13. Remember to skip that slip stitch, skip the chain stitch, and slip stitch into that first single crochet, and that gives us a total of 35 stitches. And your slip, it should start looking like the slipper bottom. To start round 7, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet right back into that same stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 12. Next, we're going to skip the next stitch and single into the next 5 times. So skip, single, that's 1, skip, single, 2, skip, single, 3, skip, single, that's 4, skip, single, and that is 5. And that creates the toe of our slipper. the next step is to single in the next 12 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, and 12. We're going to skip that slip stitch and that chain, and we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet, but we're going to go into the back loop only to slip stitch this time, and we're going to go ahead and fasten off. And now the base of our slipper is finished. So we have our little booty, is the base of it's done. Now we're going to work on the sock part. Okay, we're ready to start the sock portion of the booty. So we're going to get our sock color. In this case I'm going to be using white. We're going to go right into that stitch that we just slip stitched into and fastened off. So we're going to stick our hook in there and pull up our sock yarn, our sock color, and we need the long portion. Chain 1, and I'm going to go ahead and tie a little knot here just to make sure it doesn't come apart. I'll weave those tails in afterwards. And we're going to single crochet in these 13 stitches, including the one we just fastened on. So this will be the first stitch. That's 1. We're going to be working in the back loops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, and 13. Now this is where we're going to be working that instep. So we're going to be going back and forth across the instep here. So let's get these tails out of the way. So the first part of that, we're going to be skipping a stitch and then working, we're going to skip this first stitch and work 3 single crochets, skip a stitch, and slip stitch into the next stitch. So we're going to skip this stitch, and then we're going to work into the next 3 stitches through both loops. So go 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip that next stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch, but we're going to slip stitch into the back loop on this side. We're going to be working always in the back loop. This side we're going to be working through both loops. In the front of the instep, we'll work through both loops. So we're going to skip this stitch and go into the back loop and slip stitch. Chain 1, and we're going to turn. And we're going to be working this little pattern next 5 times. So we're going to skip the chain stitch, skip the slip stitch, go into the single crochet, and we're going to work into the next 3 single crochets. And we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of those single crochets. In the next stitch, we're going to slip stitch. So that's 1 time. We're going to do that 5 times. That's the 1 time. Chain 1 and turn the work. Skip the chain, skip the slip stitch, work 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch into the back loop. So that's 2 times. Chain 1, turn, skip, skip, work 3 single crochets. Slip stitch, working both loops, and slip stitch. That's 3, chain 1, I'm working on the 4th time now, skip, skip, 3 single crochets, and slip stitch, back loop, chain 1, turn the work, and this is our 5th time, skip, skip, 3 single crochets, and slip stitch both loops, chain 1, and we're going to turn, and we are going to work one more row, but the reason why I said 5 times is because we're going to do something different this time when we get back to the booty side. So we're going to skip, skip, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And now instead of slip stitching, we're going to single crochet, but again in that back loop. And we're going to single crochet for the rest of these stitches. So including this one, it should be 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. We're going to skip over that slip stitch and chain, and we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet that we made to end the round. We should have 22 stitches. We can just tuck those tails inside. This would be round 1 of our sock. Oh, we don't want that purple. We want the white. So to start for round 2 through 5, we're just going to put 1 single crochet in each one of these stitches. So we're going to chain 1, go back into that same stitch, and put a single crochet, and single crochet in each one of those stitches. Now if you have trouble finding that first stitch when you're doing single crochets in the round, that's when you're going to want that stitch marker to go ahead and put that stitch marker right there too. So put 1 single crochet into each stitch, and you should have 22 stitches. Now I wanted to show you something when we get to the instep. So let me just work my way down to the instep. Right here. When you get to this part, don't put a stitch right there. That is not a stitch. Right here is not a stitch. Your first stitch is right here. So you're going to skip over all of this part right here. This is where you were your turning chains and your slip stitch right in here. Don't put a stitch in there. That's not where a stitch goes. Your stitch is going to go right over here on the beginning of your instep. And then you have your 3 stitches that go across your instep. On your booty side, when you were going onto the purple side, that is a stitch. So you're going to go ahead and put a single crochet in that one. And then you're just going to continue single crocheting until you get back to the beginning. That's the only tricky part on this second round. 3, 4, and 5 are really kind of simple because you don't have that little jot right there once you put round 2 on. So when you get back to the beginning, remember that this is your slip stitch, this is your chain. You don't work a stitch into that right there. You go right to this first stitch. Just like you were when you were doing the bottom of the booty. So that is round 2. So continue with round 3, 4, and 5, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 5. Okay, we're at the end of round 5. I'm just going to kind of flatten my booty out here so you can see a little better. We're going to slip stitch to that first single crochet that we made. Make sure you don't slip stitch into the slip stitch or the chain 1. For round 6, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do double crochets this round. So we're going to yarn over and go into the, we're going to be working just in the back loops again. So we're going to go into that back loop, and we're going to do a double crochet. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that so that we can see it on the way back, so we can find where the top of that stitch is. And we're just going to work 1 double crochet into each one of the stitches all the way around, but working into the back loop only. Now, of course, you don't have to crush your booty down like this. I just did that so you can see it a little bit easier. Okay, I will meet back up with you at the end of the round. Okay, at the end of round 6, we're going to have 22 double crochets. I'm going to go ahead and take that marker out and slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet that we did. Careful not to split the yarn. Now for round 7 and 8, we're going to be doing front post double crochets. So we're going to chain 1, and to do the front post double crochet, we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go around that front post of that first stitch, pull up a loop, and complete the double crochet. That chain 1 there is not going to count as a stitch, which is why I just do a chain 1 so that it minimizes the seam. And we're going to do a front post double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. Alright, I've made it all the way back around, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the top of the first front post double crochet that we made. To start round 8, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do front post double crochet all the way around again. So we're going to go around that first front post double crochet and make another front post double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and mark that the top of that stitch, and we're going to do that with each stitch all the way around. We're going to make a front post double crochet. Split the yarn there a little bit. So keep working that front post double crochet in each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. Okay, we've made it all the way back around. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch to that first front post double crochet we made that's marked, and then we can go ahead and fasten off. our booty sock and is pretty much ready to put the trim on, the little ruffle. So I'm going to start at the back where the seam is. We're going to grab our sock yarn again. And we're going to be working in these free loops. So just attach the yarn with a slip stitch or a single crochet, whichever is easier for you. Chain 2 and go to the next stitch and single crochet. Chain 2, go to the next stitch, single crochet, chain 2, next stitch, single crochet, chain 2, go to the next stitch, single crochet, chain 2. You're going to do that all the way around to get back to the beginning, and then you just slip stitch to join and fasten off. So I will meet back up with you at the end of this round. I'm at the end of the ruffle round, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch right to that first stitch that we made, or to the bottom of that first stitch. And go ahead and fasten that off. And those ends can be woven in. And the last thing we have to do is make the strap that goes across the top of the foot. So we need to get our purple out for that, or our whatever your booty color is. And I just kind of judge it about where it should go. Just kind of slip stitch it there. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, just wherever you think it would look good. Just get that over there. And slip stitch that on. And we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go over the top of the booty to the opposite side and slip stitch it. And then for the little button, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch back to that same stitch. There we go. Giving me a little attitude there. Sorry about that. It's giving me a little attitude. And we're going to go ahead and fasten that off. So chain 3, slip stitch back to the same stitch. And then you're going to weave in those ends. Now when you work the other booty, you're going to want to start on this side, bring your chain over to this side, and put your button on the opposite side. So I'm just going to go ahead and weave all of these ends in and come back with the finished booty. So here's our finished booty, and actually I have 2 of them because I have another one that I had done earlier. So I have 2 finished booties like I showed you in the beginning. So we have 2 completed booties here, and like I said, you can see how I did the buttons on the little faux buttons on the opposite sides. And I went ahead, like I showed you before in the beginning, I stuffed them with some tissue paper so it brings out the the booty so it looks like there's a little foot inside. So there is the completed project. Thanks for watching and happy crocheting. Bye-bye.